This is the Turf Zone Podcast, your central information and news hub, bringing together professionals from turf associations across multiple states to share things to help you in your business. Brought to you in partnership with our friends at the Maryland Turfgrass Council. This episode is sponsored in part by Sod, world-class service on demand. Visit us online at www.buysod.com. Now, let's get in the zone.
Welcome to the Turf Zone. In this episode of Maryland Turfgrass, we're talking to Shaun Meredith, Park and Safety Division Chief for Calvert County. Shaun, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
So, Shaun, we're talking today because we're doing a member spotlight for our magazine. And first, tell me a little about your current position and what you do for Calvert County.
In the current position, I have a really big scope of work. You know, a lot of it has to do with athletic fields. We have over 60 total. Some of them are local elementary school and middle school fields that we help maintain for the school district. We also have stuff ranging from, highly maintained turf that has irrigation and, Bermuda grass or hybrid of blue Muta, as it's come to be known, which, if you don't know, is a combination of bluegrass and Bermuda grass in the same stand of turf. And we also have the majority is not even irrigated. And at that point, it's keep it as green as you can, But as per my title, for our department, I also oversee a lot of the any safety issues and things throughout, not just in our parks. And I also manage all of our capital improvement projects for the Park and Recreation Department, which is about $32 million worth of projects. So definitely keeps me very busy. We have a pretty big staff as well. Obviously, we have over 600 acres of land that just doesn't have, athletic fields. It has everything from trails to tennis courts, basketball courts, skate parks, dog parks, you name it. So, customer service gets involved in a lot of that too, being a public facility.
So how many people are in your department working on all of that space?
It really varies. I mean, if you actual numbers and what we hope to get are always two different things, especially these days when it's hard to get help. But if we're full staff, we're up around 60 people.
That's a good sized crew. So how did you get to that position? What was your career path prior to this position?
Well, I don't know how far back everybody really wants to hear about me, but started off, my family had a landscaping business. So I grew up in that field of work. As a kid, I remember being out there and mowing the grass with my grandfather. And, it just natural progression of things led me into the turf grass industry. Went to Penn State, got a turf grass degree, went in there with all intentions of working on golf courses. Freshman year of college, I got in a bad four-wheeler accident, broke my neck in 4 places and paralyzed my right arm, and, had me thinking about whether it was the right career path anymore. I mean, obviously it's not a job where you get to sit behind the desk all the time. But I stuck with it. I had a lot of good support and people that encouraged me to stay in that, in this field of work. And I'm glad for that. I wouldn't be where I'm at without it, but I started off, actually ended up going into baseball, and I worked in minor league baseball for 8 years, going from State College up to New Hampshire. And, minor league baseball, as a lot of people probably know, is it's a lifestyle, I like to say, more so than it is a job. I mean, you got to really be fully invested and want to spend the majority of your time there during the season, which a lot of people do it. But, my wife and I thought it was a good idea to try to look at a career change and something that's a little less hour dependent, hour demand, and which led me into Parks and Recreation, where I'm at now. And I honestly enjoy it a lot. And I miss being on the grass all the time, but it keeps it fresh. There's so many things going on. Days go fast, and really widen up the umbrella of my knowledge, really.
Yeah, well, I love the Parks and Rec element just from the standpoint of you have a larger group of people that you're really kind of enhancing the experience for, where you've got the dog parks and the hiking trails. You're not just the athletes out on the field or their fans and families out there, but we're big fans of hiking trails, and I definitely appreciate the fact that somebody's out there doing that work.
Well, thanks. Good to hear a thank you once in a while.
Yeah, you are noticed and appreciated. So especially because you have such a diverse range of tasks and in your current position, what's the best part? Is it still the grass, or is there something else that's...
Oh, yeah, that's my love there. Yeah, the days that I get to work on infields or work on my grass or doing something, I mean, I think probably anymore, my staff probably doesn't want me out there with them, but that's certainly what really puts blood into my veins. But honestly, I found that I have a lot more of a love of construction than I had thought before. And I'm sure it's a combination of new things. I'm learning a lot as I go through and do it. I didn't have formal education in it or anything like that, so it's always nice to learn something new. And I really enjoy the planning aspect of it. And, over the years, working on different facilities and fields, and, you try and find someone that knows how it was built or what happened here or what's in the ground there. And, the nice thing is that now that I'm planning it, building it, and then maintaining it, I kind of have all that insider knowledge, and it really, really is nice, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. So what's the biggest challenge you have now that we know your favorite part? What's the biggest challenge of your job?
It sounds cliche to say it, but honestly, it's I think it's the people aspect of it. I had a professor in college, Dr. Andrew McNitt, that he's one of the best professors I had. And, he'd give a lecture for an hour or, going on for weeks about turf and soils and dirt. And at the end of it, he'd say, "No, don't forget, the grass will grow itself. It's everything else that's hard." And, as a college student, you don't really understand what that means. But, once you get out there, you understand what he's saying. And, if all you had to do was worry about the grass, it'd be a pretty easy job. But, it's the people probably, and not just staff. I don't mean that as like workers or staff. It's just people in general. I mean, especially now that, like I said, we touch a lot of people in what we do. And unfortunately, you don't really hear the thank yous as much as you do the complaints,
Sure.
And sometimes it makes it difficult. You just kind of deflates you a little bit sometimes. For the most part, you gotta let it roll off your back. But yeah, those days where you're giving it your all and it ends with somebody complaining, it's a little deflating, But he was right. The grass really does take care of itself to a certain aspect, right? I mean, it is all the other things, getting purchase orders and, jumping through the hoops and jumps that you have to do certain things. And that's the hard part.
Not exactly what you envisioned when you thought of a turf grass career and being out in nature growing grass. And yeah, you weren't imagining purchase orders at that time.
No, definitely not.
So you are part of the MTC board. So how long have you been doing that? Been involved?
I'm in my third year of that now.
Okay. What made you want to step up? I mean, obviously these are all volunteer roles, and it definitely takes some time and commitment. So what makes somebody as busy as you jump into that?
Well, I've always wanted to be involved in the industry in whatever way that could be. And that alone is driver enough for me to do it. But quite honestly, it was just kind of funny. At our annual conference, is when we typically vote in a new board. And one of the existing board members who's still there now, I was sitting there eating lunch and he came up to me and he said, "Shaun, we need one more person to fill the role. Once somebody just backed out. Can you do it?" I said, "Sure." Why not?
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. They're 15 minutes away from announcing it, but I says, yeah, what, I think I could do that. I'd like to be part of it. And, it is gratifying to hope. You hope that you make the industry, your job better, your relationships better, and just leave hopefully a mark on somebody or something or some part of the industry when you leave it.
For sure. The Turfgrass Association's conferences, education, recertification, licensing, all of those things have kind of taken a hit with not being able to be physically present with each other. So how are we looking, just kind of from the board perspective, from MTC, how are we looking for moving forward and attempting to go back somewhat to how things have been in the past?
We continue to, even throughout, just knowing our industry is, we're generally speaking, I think, hands-on people and like to see each other in person. And I think we're striving to get back to that as quickly as we can. But at the same time, you gotta look at the silver lining and things too. And although it's not ideal, I would much rather be standing in a room across from somebody at a conference. We did a virtual one this past year, and I thought it went really well. We had very good attendance for it. In a way, it kind of makes it more accessible for everybody at any time that they want to. So, that aspect of it is really nice too. So, you can't hit a home run every time. And it's all about making the best of it. And I think everybody involved did that. And we'll continue to do that, whatever comes at us. The education piece is never going to leave, right? We always need it. We always need continued education. No matter how you get it, you're going to get it.
I've been so impressed. I've only been working in the turfgrass industry for 3 years now, and I've been so impressed at the networking and knowledge sharing. I mean, I understand on some level, there is some competition among turfgrass managers, but overall, it feels very collaborative and supportive. And I think even if we're not having conferences in person, you guys certainly are out there, changing more stories for sure.
I think to your point, that's what's lost in the virtual side of thing is the back and forth between the people. I think the first conference I went to, a friend of mine said to me, he goes, "You're going to learn more after all the sessions are over and we're all sitting around having wings and beer and talking, and that's when you're going to figure out those tricks of the trade, and people are going to start talking about what they did here and what they did there, and that's where you find those little tidbits that just make your life easier." And they're right. I mean, that's a huge part of it, and I think as a general statement, everybody in this industry feels that way. It's like, you're not benefiting anything by keeping anything close to your chest. If I find an easier way to do something, I can't wait to tell everybody.
Yeah.
And I think mostly everybody is that way. And that is just makes you want to be part of it even more.
Definitely. All right. I'm going to ask you a hard one now. What is a lesson you've learned the hard way in your career?
Well, I would say, when I was at one of the minor league ballparks, I had a general manager that, generally speaking, probably wasn't my favorite person I ever worked for. But, I was young and, it's very stressful at times there. And I remember I lost my temper one time and he came to me and he said, "Shaun," he says, "your hard work and stress to you is the same as everyone else's hard work and stress is to them." And it hit home for me, and it makes sense, right? It's just because I don't think it's the same, or I don't think that they're working as hard. And, I was also in the mindset then, it's like, if your hands are dirty and you're not dripping sweat, you're not working, and you get older and you learn that that's not the case. But it really put it in perspective for me, and probably one of the hardest lessons I had to learn, because, at that time I was losing like I said, I was losing my temper, getting upset, and really it really wasn't warranted,
Right. Well, we can always blame it on being young and having lots to learn. So speaking of young and lots to learn, look, did you see that transition? That was good right there.
Good.
What would you tell young people who are just entering the field or are considering turfgrass management?
Well, I think the number one thing that I would tell a student that was in a turfgrass degree now is remember that you're not going to come out of college and not work and get your hands dirty. I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize, that you're getting your knowledge to apply out in that field. You still got to be out in that field. I find, just because I do a lot of interviewing and stuff now, even with existing employees that I have, and it's like I found myself going back to them like, well, you sure did leave a lot on the table, and to thinking outside the box just doesn't apply to a task. It applies to everything that you do. So if I'm interviewing you and I ask you if you've ever drug a baseball infield, don't say no. Stop for a second and think in your interview and think about, well, what else have I done similar to that? Have you drug a horse rink? Have you drug a beach? Have you drug a drag or a grader up and down your driveway at home? I mean, think about the concept behind it and apply something there, and always be thinking in that direction. And as long as you keep doing that in everything you do, you're gonna continue to move forward, which, that relates back to everything. So we talked about continuing education. We talked about getting involved in a board. You asked me why I got involved in it. All those things, the more you do, the more you do, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you just, if you want, and it's fine if you want to live in your own vacuum and stay in one spot, then you will do just that, stay in one spot. But if you want to keep moving forward and moving up that ladder and getting better, well, you snatch every opportunity you have.
Absolutely.
It's not always going to be the right choice. Nothing, like I said before, not everyone's a home run. But you know what? If you didn't try, you only have regret.
Yep. Yeah. I think I'd rather have a few mistakes that I've learned from than regrets of not having given it a shot.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So you can't only work. What do you do outside of work? Do you have hobbies, family stuff you do?
Well, yeah, I got two little ones. So they keep me quite busy, for sure. But you know what? Honestly, I probably do just work outside of work. We have a little slice of land and a couple of goats and chickens, and always got some type of job or something to build or something around my house. I really just enjoy doing that. I just enjoy doing tinkering around on projects on my own time and just being outside. I just want to be outside. I do like to hunt. I've hunted all my life, but like I said, I got two little kids, so my opportunities for hunting aren't like they used to be.
You can't just disappear into the woods all morning, every weekend.
Yeah, well, I can, but I can't expect to have a wife here every day when I come home.
That's a good point. You know what? Yeah, you could do that. Are those little ones big enough for you to start delegating some, goat wrangling and
they're not doing too bad. They're 4 and 6, so they're the order's kind of just coming into it. I did get them. They help me take care of the chickens. They like getting the eggs, so that's a welcome right there.
That's awesome. Okay. Don't miss an episode of Maryland Turfgrass. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also visit us at theturfzone.com.
You've been listening to The Turf Zone. Thank you to our sponsors, including Buy Sod, world-class service on demand. Visit us online at www.buysod.com. For more episodes of The Turf Zone, visit theturfzone.com and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app.